sponsoring the facility for us. And today we are going to be introducing Sean, and he is a new entrepreneur, and he's going to talk about CloudCoin. It's a new currency, what it's about, what his vision is for it, and how he's going to change the world. So, ladies and gentlemen, Sean.
Well, hi everybody, and thank you for coming. I'm a computer scientist, and I know very little bit about business, and I found it very frustrating, and I'm very interested in meeting you and maybe getting some mentorship, and so I really appreciate you being here. Finding partners is the goal of my organization right now. I'm going to be talking about CloudCoin. CloudCoin is a technology, it's a project, and it's like Bitcoin. And so nobody owns it, there's no company, there's no CloudCoin Corporation. But I did create something called the CloudCoin Research Corporation. And the CloudCoin Research Corporation opened a bank account, and the bank account was shut down a few weeks later. And we think it's because banks don't like digital currencies, and they don't want to really help digital currencies succeed. I mean, we really didn't need a bank account, but what we did is we actually changed our name. And so I'm talking about CloudCoin, which is a project, but there's also a company that does research, and that company is called RADAG. And if I can get this thing to minimize, I'm not a Mac user. Here we go. Okay, so here is the slideshow in a PDF version. So we have a company called RADAC, and it's all about secure and fast and private transactions. And our first project is CloudCoin. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. So I was raised up in Magalia, and I would start a fire every morning. We had no electricity, and moved to Paradise big time. Joined then after high school. I was actually I went on I entered a competition when I was 16. Went down to Stanford and competed against all these kids, and won. And one of the reasons why I won is because I was able to start fires without matches. And I was sent on a scientific expedition to Australia, where I got to be with kids from all around the world. It was this like international science project. And I got to meet all of these people and live in the outback. And so that got me started into science. But after that, I joined the Air Force, became a jet engine mechanic, and came back to Chico State. I've lived in Chico ever since then. That's 1992. I teach computer science at Duke College. I've actually studied a lot of subjects. I started in industrial technology, almost had a degree, changed to economics because I didn't want to work in a warehouse. And then when I was in economics, I learned that all the money is in computer science, so I switched to computer science, and that's where I stayed. I'm all but dissertation on a PhD in information systems, and I have a provisional patent on a new digital currency called CloudCoin, and I'm the author of a book called Beyond Bitcoin, The Future of Digital Currency, and in the past 3 weeks, I've been on about 24 radio stations talking about digital currencies in general and CloudCoin, and now I'm getting scheduled to go on television shows. And so right now, the UK is talking about making digital currencies illegal, and I'm going to debate that subject on television. So get some notoriety. So let's talk about digital currencies. When digital currencies came out, a lot of people said, "Is that money?" And a lot of people said no. People with Nobel Prizes in economics said it wasn't money. And I've taken 30 units of economics at Chico State, and I studied the definition of money. I was not satisfied with that definition. And after analyzing Bitcoin, trying to figure out, is it money, looking at gold, trying to figure out if it was money, because Ben Bernanke, who's the chairman of the Federal Reserve, said gold's not money. And I thought that was really surprising. and looking at all the different currencies, including the island of Yap money, which is it's very exotic. In the island of Yap, they have a center village, and in the village, there are little squares of land, and each land square belongs to one family. And they've got these big giant stone coins that they roll from plot of land to plot of land to show who owns the money. And this is, I realize this is a public ledger. It's a physical representation of a database. They're using the coins as data. And they've got a monetary system. And it dawned on me that monetary systems are information systems, and money is data. And the significance of this was immediate. The significance is that if we know that money is data, and we know if I've got a textbook for my PhD program that says this is how you make perfect data, what I can do is I can take those rules and I can apply it to money. And we can create a perfect monetary system. And so I went to work and created CloudCoin. CloudCoin, get a little ahead of myself. I should talk about Bitcoin first, because Bitcoin is the first mover. It is...
Sean, you're about halfway through this, so you know, you got
I'm
3 minutes.
sorry, okay.
Yeah, 3 minutes left.
So Bitcoin is the first mover. It was the one that showed us that a digital currency could happen. It solved what's called the physical integrity problem of digital money. How can you have digital money if you can just copy and paste files all around your computer and delete them? How is it possible? Well, the blockchain made it possible. Blockchain is a data structure, it's a database. And they figured out how you could create a data structure in which you can add things and you can read things, but you can't delete things and you can't change things. And this allows us to have transactions that we follow, and we can take a look at a piece of money and see where it moves from person to person, and we know who's got what money. And so that's the significance of Bitcoin. But Bitcoin's got some problems. It's not scalable. What that means is the more people use it, the slower it gets. And so Bitcoin's got a problem which it takes 2 hours to confirm a transaction, and sometimes it takes days. And the more people that get involved with it, the more time it takes. You have to download this blockchain, it's 150 gigabytes, and it gets bigger every day. Every time there's a transaction, the blockchain grows. And it's not quantum safe. And so there's something called a quantum computer. It can crack, in theory, Bitcoin within 2 minutes. Now, have we seen that? I believe that our government has warehouses full of quantum computers that can crack these things right now. And we can, for $10 million, I can buy a quantum computer. I can guarantee you within 10 years, Bitcoin's done. And I'm just scratching the surface. There's all kinds of other problems with Bitcoin, but we've solved them all. The researchers at the CloudCoin Consortium, or I should say the RADAC, have created another data structure that's called RADA, Redundant Array of Independent Detection Agents. And when I created this, I thought, well, I'm going to write a paper, and I'm going to submit it to a journal, and I'm going to become famous. And I thought, all the people that are going to just argue about it and say it's not true. And I figured, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make it. I'm just going to implement. I'm going to do it. We're going to do an experiment. And I did. I contacted system administrators from all around the world, because if monetary systems are information systems, what you need is system administrators to make it work. And I did get all kinds of administrators from all around the world, talking about Japan and Taiwan and Russia and you name it. And we created the RADA, the Redundant Array of Independent Detection Agents, which is a data structure that detects counterfeits. So it doesn't track every transaction that happens. It can just tell you if your money's real or not. And so basically the way it works is I've got some money, which is a JPEG file, or it's a text file, or I can actually put it in a Word document, or any kind of, I can hide it anywhere. And I can even store it in my mind. And what it does is it has a bunch of passwords, 25 of them. I give it to you, and now you know the passwords too, because you have the file. And we both have in that case, we both the owner. But if you know the passwords, you can go and change them. And then if you change them, then only you know the passwords. And so whoever knows the money owns it. So in traditional monetary systems, if I've got my money in my pocket, it's mine, right? Because I physically own it. CloudCoin, if you've got it in your mind, or on your computer disk, or on your cell phone, then you own it, because you know the money.
You got 1 minute left, Sean, so you're going to wrap
So
up.
I just wanted to tell you that we don't need to raise money, because we don't make money, and we do everything with CloudCoin. All of our employers, everything. But I would like to accelerate. Basically, I've discovered that there's 12 exotic data structures out there, like blockchain, like data, that have not been developed. And these will change society. They will make things secure, they'll make it fast, they'll make, you can't believe the transformation that's going to happen. This is a big deal. And I would like to raise some stocks, but it makes me sick to think about that stuff. To think about raising money. And so, anyways, I'm just looking for partners, anybody that's interested in getting involved. And certainly I would like to know somebody that knows something about financial technology.
That just created a whole lot of questions in my head. So we're going to have 20 minutes of question and answer. We'll start taking a thing. Do we have a microphone this week too?
No, not this week.
No, not this week.
Well, I can set one up, but it's kind of a problem to have.
It creates an audio problem, so we were fine with the
I'll
first
try to
one.
repeat the question.
So.
Yeah, if you repeat the questions,
Sure.
that's good.
So we're going to hand it off, 20 minutes. We're going to do it, and then we'll thank you at the end and go from there. So we'll start with you.
So with Bitcoin, a guy like lost $60,000 because will you have that problem with the CloudCoin?
Yeah, with Bitcoin, somebody lost $60,000. Actually, there's over 4 million Bitcoins that have been lost. And if Bitcoins are lost faster than they're mined, then you don't have Bitcoin anymore, right? They disappear. Digital currency must have physical integrity. Physical integrity means it cannot be counterfeited, all right? Bitcoin, we counterfeit it. We've got these things called miners, and they make new Bitcoins. And that's their reward for doing all of the work that they do. But you can also lose it, and that's also a problem with physical integrity. In a database, we don't want data to disappear, and we don't want it to appear. CloudCoin is the first currency that the number never grows, and you cannot permanently lose it. And so we have the equivalent of miners, but they mine for lost coins. They don't mine to create new coins. And so if a coin has been lost for 2 years and has never been used, then our rate of miners get to take those shards and they put them together using a central service, and they can create cloud coins, which then pays for the infrastructure. So our entire system is not paid by mining Bitcoins, it's paid for by retrieving lost cloud coins. This one.
What kind of support do you currently have for your technology that you're using for CloudCoin?
So right now, we've got the best support you could ever hope for. We've got a Chico company, and it's called Logix. And it's run by a guy named Hayden Womack and a guy by the name of Jeff Wolf. And they're over here on, I want to say Marauder or Benatar. I can't remember the name of the street. But they've got 6 or 7 technicians, and they run global support. And so these people are making money off of CloudCoin. They are part of the CloudCoin economy, and they're right here in Chico. Yes, sir.
So in terms of gaining public or broader confidence, how is the transparency of the size of the CloudCoin economy monitored or made available?
Yeah, so how do we gain public confidence in CloudCoin as far as making sure that people understand that it's legitimate and it's real and it doesn't change and that sort of thing? And so all of our software has these algorithms hard baked into it, and there's rules. And so, for example, all of our money has a serial number. So we have money number 1, and we have money number 16,777,216. That represents a 3-byte integer. If you find that you have a money that has a serial number outside of that range, it's not real. So, it's part of the algorithms that make it so that you know that the money is not growing, or you have follow-up.
I do, sorry, just to clarify, so you mentioned sort of a 6 million large figure there. Would you have to be a consortium member that have bought into the CloudCoin economy to know that figure for the total size in terms of total number of Bitcoin, CloudCoin available? Or is it something that is visible to somebody who's not bought into that?
So the question is, would you have to be part of the consortium and have secret knowledge and be the only one that knows it? But no, that's on our standard page. And so, unfortunately, I'm not very good at Macintosh. I'm borrowing my wife's computer. I'm a Mr. Microsoft. But if we went to cloudcoinconsortium.org, you would see the standards, and you would see the entire algorithms and how it's laid out. And
The Chrome browser's down on the bottom, the little rainbow circle. There you go. Okay.
Okay, so, you got billions of people in the world, and you mentioned the 16 million thing, so obviously you have a way of doing fractional cloud coins, I imagine.
so we do. And we also have a way of doing what we call multiplication. And so it is a problem if we have a monetary system and I just make a bunch of money. Let's look at the Federal Reserve as an example. So when the Federal Reserve wants to make new money, it's done usually 2 ways: to give money to the government or to give money to banks that are going to make loans. And that actually has a detrimental effect on a lot of different things. It can, in fact, I believe it contributed, in fact, it's the cause of the housing bubble that we had last time. The Federal Reserve making loans, putting up new money, causing housing inflation that should not happen, and then the whole thing crashes. And so in economic theory, I'll get to you, Casey.
Is there a finite number or amount of CloudCoin?
Yes, but we do have the technology to do something called multiplication, and that's where we take all the servers and we clone them. And so we could take all our servers and just copy them. Instead of having 25 clouds, we could have 6,000 clouds. And as the value of CloudCoin goes up, that's what we intend to do. And then what happens is that your money splits. And so if you know what a stock split is, it's like that. But everybody's money splits the same. So instead of having disproportional new money in the system, everybody's money grows. And so that's how we keep the unit of account to where it's usable. But we also do have something called banks, and the banks issue fractions.
So,
Yes.
well, I don't want to muscle in on anyone else. So do you have an interface with like regular banks, like Federal Reserve System?
So the question is, do we have an interface with regular banks? And the answer is no. Banks are no longer necessary. There's no need for vaults or tellers or parking lots for banks. So if you're a banker, I'm sorry. We can have banks on our computers. And so I've got I'm working on a bill pay system right now. My computer has an Excel spreadsheet that goes through and pays everybody in CloudCoin automatically every month, and we do some advanced calculations. We do need investment banks though. And if we have extra money, we want to make sure that money's invested, and so we might have our bank send that investment bank money and we get interest on it. Yes.
I have a pretty silly question. As just a person that hears about you, how do I go to you and create my own account and have currency on here?
So how can we go in and create my own account and have currency? And so with CloudCoin, there's no accounts. So for example, with dollars, you don't need accounts. You don't need an account to use a quarter, right? Or spend any dimes or something. what happens with CloudCoin is that the money basically has accounts. And you need to make sure that the money is real, and it's got accounts all over the world. And
If I don't make a deposit, where does my money actually come from to join? Or just sign up and I have money?
so probably the easiest way for you is if you said, hey, Sean, I've got something of value for you. And I say, okay, here's some cloud coins. And so literally we spend cloud coins into existence. We do not have an ICO, which is called an initial coin offering. We're not trying to raise dollars or any kind of other money to make CloudCoin work. We have a mint. All of the money is created. It's in the mint, and it's distributed in tranches. So, and there's 60 of them. So every month, 1/60 of the money goes out and it's spent. It's spent on system administration. It's spent on programmers. It's spent on marketing. It's spent on artwork, logos, you name it. So if you wanted to become part of the CloudCoin economy, our lawyers paid 75,000 cloud coins a month.
So for example, like Sean, if he, I think this is what he's getting at, is if he gives you through PayPal $20 or he gives you a $10 bill, how are you gonna send him the cloud coins and how does he see that he has them?
Okay.
Or do I just offer my work for you? You pay me and I just
Either, any
jump
doesn't
into the
matter,
economy.
it's either direct money or.
So suppose that you wanted to buy a cloud coin or exchange your money for a cloud coin, and that's kind of another topic, but I just email them to you. So cloud coins are the first currency that you can transfer electronically. They actually can exist in applications. And I just send it to you via email, or I send it to you via Skype or Facebook, or I send them, if I can get a message to you, like a text message, I can send you a cloud coin. And it actually allows me to hack every freaking payment system in the world, because if I go to eBay and I want to ask the seller a question, I can just say, hi seller, here's a cloud coin, please send me the product. And I send it to them, and then they can sell me the product, and I just went around PayPal altogether. But you can exchange cloud coins for anything. Does that answer your question?
So yeah,
So with Bitcoin, you have to create an account on the public ledger. You then have to download the blockchain in something called a wallet. Then you have to do an exchange, and you have to trade it. Cloud coins, you can get it, you can just Google buy cloud coins to find somebody that wants to sell it. Jennifer?
Yes, Sean, I have a comment and a question.
Sure.
So my comment is you're taking an extremely complex concept and you are trying to explain it plus pitch your product to a diverse audience. You don't know our level of knowledge or sophistication about cryptocurrency. So I want to compliment you. This is a really, really hard pitch, probably the hardest pitch we'll ever hear. So again, it's just a compliment. If you were addressing an audience of experts, I'm sure that you could cater your pitch much more specifically and talk very specifically about your product. But since you don't know us, again, I just think it's really difficult, so I wanted to give you that comment and compliment. My question is, you made a comment that Bitcoin is going to run out. I think I read something like the last Bitcoin is supposed to be mined in like 2140. Do we have to wait 120 years for CloudCoin to become recognized?
The question is, Bitcoin's about ready, is going to run out in 121 years. Do we have to wait very long for CloudCoin to be recognized? And the answer is no. CloudCoin, the field is dry, and CloudCoin spreads. And I've got problems. I've got freaking 1,000 people that I got email today, and that's a good problem to have. And I might have 20,000 tomorrow. So I've got to, I'm trying to find programmers that can create our bill pay system so we can do it all automatically. So people are understanding that digital currencies are real. So that's the first thing that we have to understand, is that digital currencies are in fact real money. The second problem that we have to understand is how to get them. And Bitcoin is actually very difficult to get them. CloudCoin is much easier. The next problem that we have to get is the coin liquid? Can you buy something with it? Can you exchange it with something? And we have the same problem that Bitcoin had when it started, and that there's no exchanges and there's nobody that's taking it on their websites. However, CloudCoin is extremely easy as far as writing the software. We don't have to have cryptography. We don't have to have all of this very expensive software. And so we expect it to explode. We expect to have an exchange within the next couple of weeks. We expect to have merchant software within the next couple of weeks, and it's not going to take the same amount of time as Bitcoin. So I expect it to go very fast. And we had somebody new.
I really appreciate your presentation too. My name is Robin, and I am not tech savvy at all. I'm a social worker, so I'm wondering how this might apply to my clients, for example, who aren't tech savvy, and myself, and like the 90% or so. I'm thinking in terms of the huge disparity between the very wealthy and many of the rest of the folks, and how could that maybe fill the gap? How could this help bring out the impoverished, or could it?
Okay, so the question is, how can CloudCoin help create prosperity for everybody? I think that's the question. And the answer is that money is data, and data goes to computers, our minds. And we use money to make decisions and to economize. If all of the money disappeared, civilization would collapse. If you look at places where they have bad money like Venezuela, they literally aren't making food. They're not getting the signal. Ants use pheromones to talk to each other and coordinate their colonies. Human beings use money to coordinate everything and economize. We look at prices, and today if I've got 3 people that come up to me and they offer me a job, and one's going to pay me $100,000, the other one $50,000, and the other one $25,000, which job do you think I want to take? Well, the $100,000 job is the place in the economy where I'm needed the most, where I can help the most. And when I go to the store and I buy something, if I got 2 cartons of eggs, one's twice as expensive as the other, and they're exactly the same, I'm going to save money by buying the cheaper one. I'm going to economize by doing that. And so when you think about how amazing it is that every day 7 billion people get up and they go to work and they do something or school or where they make their actions, and we create all of these buildings and cities and roads and Starbucks and things like that, it's all because of money. Good money creates good civilizations. Good money helps everybody. Good money makes everything more fair and actually makes everybody more equal, because the truth is that even though I might be a doctor and I know all this stuff, I still want to have a back massage. And that back massage should cost the same amount as my services as a doctor. And in my theory, and what I think is true, and what I have not published yet, is that pretty much everybody should get paid the same amount. But what happens is that we have logical problems that are introduced into our society because of the monetary system. We have money show up. Imagine that somebody knocked on your door and say, I've got $1 million, I need to buy your house right now. And you're like, okay, I'll take it. And you run out and he says, I want your furniture too, okay. So you just drive off, but as you're driving down the street, you see all these people walking around picking up money off the ground. There's been a helicopter that flew over and they dropped money as part of some kind of government program. And so you just sold your house for nothing because the money lied to you. You thought the money was worth something, and now you found out it's not. We have that situation throughout the economy, and good money will stop that.
Follow up the question this fellow had here. The concept of electronic currency is still very foreign to me, right? But one of the questions that you were asking, I was going to ask the same question, is how do I actually get CloudCoin? And you mentioned, well, if you sell me something of value, you get CloudCoin. Is that right?
That's one way. I mean, if you're talking about selling, it sounds like, so the question is, how do you get CloudCoin? I'm sorry.
Right, so the question I have, let's just say, okay, I have a painting, as you mentioned.
Mhm.
I have a painting, and I want to sell it to you, right? And then you determine, how do you determine how much that painting is worth, so you know how much CloudCoin to give to me?
Well, the same question can be applied to anybody.
I understand,
So-
that's right. And the whole question comes down to how do you preserve the value of money, right?
So,
How would you know, using that example of the painting, how would you determine what the fair value is for that painting?
Sure. So the question is, how do you determine the fair value of a painting? And maybe another question might be, how does money get its value? Maybe that, how does money, is that at all, or is that?
Well, see, here's my concern on some of this, using that as an example. Again, I may not be understanding this correctly, but it's the same issue that happened with Spain when they came to the New World and brought all this gold back to Spain. It's the same thing that happened in the Netherlands with the tulips, right? Where all this money is coming into the country, it's debasing the currency, right? They had huge inflation in Spain, huge inflation in the Netherlands, and this is hundreds of years ago. It's not a new problem, right? So going back to that question about, okay, so let's say you think that painting's worth $1,000 and you give it to me. Now let's say it's worth $1 million, right? I tell you it's a Rembrandt, but it turns out it's not a Rembrandt, right? So now we debase the value of CloudCoin because we overpaid for something. The value that I got, that let's say you got for my painting, isn't nearly as great as the value I got because you gave me $1 million worth of CloudCoin.
So there's a simple answer to that question, and the question has to do with debasing the currency and the introduction of new money into a system. And so we take a look at the Great Spanish Inflation, which happened back in the 1600s when the New World was discovered, and they brought over all of this gold and silver into a system that had already existed that was based on gold and silver. And so the Spanish kings had all of this gold and silver that they could spend. Well, what happened is that we had something called the Great Spanish Price Revolution, and people who had a salary or a wage got poor. And they got poor because the price of everything went up and their salaries did not keep up. But everybody that had something to buy, everybody that had something to sell, or all the landowners got rich. Does this sound like it's familiar today? This is exactly what the Federal Reserve is doing now. Entering the new money, and wage earners and salary earners are getting screwed right now. And the people that are the property owners and the asset owners are making an offer, are doing better. And so what we want is we want no counterfeiting. We want a system in which you cannot add extra money into it.
But the question isn't counterfeit here. The question is value, right? And what you said about the Federal Reserve, I kind of agree with you on that. But I'm still concerned. I don't understand how you preserve the value of currency. How you can be an expert on everything. Again, if this fellow wants to sell you a painting, right, or a car, or a coin, or whatever it might be, right? I don't understand how you preserve the value of the currency.
So how do we preserve the value? So value is all in your mind. It's all in people's minds. And it's not in the currency. What's in the currency is integrity. It's either good data or bad data. And if it helps us to make logical decisions, then it's doing its job. And what happens is that we look at the data and we make decisions.
One more question.
So it is a complicated thing, and I can't say, I don't have an exact theory to give to you, but I can tell you nobody else does either. So we're gonna do like one more.
Okay, so you had mentioned that you said pure and transparency, and I'm trying to understand the CloudCoin system or data equals money and values and aspect. Like when people would buy into or get the cloud coins, what about individuals who are using CloudCoin to do nefarious things? Like how does that play into your pure and your good money aspect?
So we want people to be virtuous. We want them to be good. And I'm actually going on television to debate this because the UK is talking about getting rid of Bitcoin because people are using it to buy drugs, right? So we don't want people to buy drugs, so we're going to get rid of Bitcoin. Imagine that we said, you know, we don't want people to buy drugs, so we're going to get rid of dollar bills. You would be cutting your head off, you'd be destroying your civilization. You think drugs are a problem, not having any money, that's a big problem. And one of the things that I did mention is that digital currencies are here to stay, and if you're not going to embrace them, you're going to be left behind. If we have people that can't figure them out, those people are going to be screwed. I mean, because the digital currencies are going to give people such an advantage over those people that don't use them, that you're not going to be able to compete. If I'm a business doing business in Bitcoin right now, yesterday Bitcoin went up $1,000. I would just let my money sit there and it goes up $1,000. How are you going to compete with me? How much money did you make? I made money on my money. And so digital currencies are going to be in customer satisfaction. I can tell you, digital currencies are the future. And I didn't tell you about the bad things that can happen with them, where the government controls the currency. The government knows exactly who's buying what, where, controlling everything, moving structures around. You can read my book though, and so I should tell you that we have a marketing partner. This is the last thing I'll say. We have a marketing partner, digitalfrontiernews.com, and if you go there, you can sign up for my book for free and get 5 free CloudCoins and try it out. And Thank you very much, Tom.
All right, so at the end of the thing, we'd like to know from 1 Million Cups is what can we do for you as a community? What would you like to ask from us to help you right now?
So the problems that I have are the kind of problems that I think every business has, like how to hire people. The way that I hire people is I hire them, and if they don't work out, then I fire them. And I really don't spend a lot of time, doing interviews and stuff like that, because number one, I don't want to spend all my time doing interviews, and number two, I don't have I can't figure it. It's like HR is one thing. Certainly, if somebody knows how to do stocks and bonds, I think that if any project deserves to have some kind of Wall Street thing, that it's ours. It makes me sick to my stomach. I'm sorry, am I going too long? It makes me sick to my stomach to think about stocks and bonds, and because of all the regulations and the rules and everything else like that. And so I certainly need that. Lawyers, anybody, a lawyer that wants to, give me advice. Artwork,
Do you pay in CloudCoin?
Yes.
Okay, that's established. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. So in the closing things, I'd like to say again, thank you to our sponsors, 6 Degrees Coffee, ID Fab Lab, BCAC, and all our organizers. And make sure if you haven't signed in previously, stop at the laptop, put in your information so you can get emails and newsletters. We also have the 1 Million Cups app if you'd like to download it and see who's speaking next week in the schedule. Take a look at us on Facebook, like our page, go to Twitter. And next time, bring a friend. And thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy the day. We'll see you next week. Who's presenting next week?
I'll make your cards.
Yeah, please check out the Facebook to find out who's around here next week. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great day.